Get ready to dive into the world of Black Sabbath's iconic guitarist, Tony Iommi, and his gear choices for the legendary album, Heaven and Hell. This is a story of musical evolution, tragedy, and the enduring power of rock and roll. The bittersweet legacy of Black Sabbath's Heaven and Hell. 2025 will forever be etched in the memories of Black Sabbath fans as a year of bittersweet emotions. While the band's reunion for one final performance will go down in history, it was tragically followed by the unexpected passing of Ozzy Osbourne, leaving a profound mark on the world of rock. But here's where it gets controversial. Despite Ozzy's irreplaceable presence, Black Sabbath continued on, and one of the brightest spots in this post-Ozzy era was the arrival of Ronnie James Dio as the new frontman. Heaven and Hell, the first album with Dio, stands as an exception to the generally negative reception of post-Ozzy Sabbath records. An SG masterclass, Tony Iommi's guitars. For Heaven and Hell, Iommi's main guitar was the iconic SG, an instrument he affectionately calls Old Boy. Built in 1975 by John Diggins, who worked for John Birch, Old Boy was intended as a backup and an experimental platform for different pickups. Due to time constraints, Diggins built it at home on his kitchen counter in just a week or two, resulting in its unique distressed finish. The pickups were frequently swapped in the early days, eventually settling on John Diggins' custom pickups. The neck pickup was modeled after a John Birch Magnum X, and the bridge was a custom Diggins pickup. All of Tony's guitars had the bridge tone pot disconnected, and Old Boy also featured a booster circuit and an additional output jack for recording, both of which were later removed. Old Boy was used for overdubs on Heaven and Hell and became Iommi's primary guitar for subsequent albums. In 1981, Diggins built Tony another SG as a spare, featuring dual rail humbuckers and what many believe was a Kahler 2300 tremolo. However, for the main tracks of Heaven and Hell, the likely culprit was a cherry red, customized left-handed Gibson SG called Monkey. Monkey was used throughout the classic era lineup, and Old Boy was made as its successor. It seems Tony still used Monkey in the studio during the initial sessions for Heaven and Hell. The neck pickup is a John Birch custom pickup, and the bridge is a Gibson P90 fitted into a metal casing by John Birch. Amplifiers, the Laney Supergroup and Marshall mods. Iommi's amplifier of choice during this era was the Laney Supergroup, but he also claimed to have used a modded Marshall 1959 model for Heaven and Hell. This Marshall had an extra preamp tube as a gain stage, a common modification of the time performed by amp gurus like Jose Arredondo and John Doc Stilwell. In an interview, Iommi mentioned that Stilwell, who had previously built Ritchie Blackmore's amps, lived with the band during the recording in Miami and rebuilt 6 Marshalls to make them more potent. He also did away with Iommi's beloved treble booster, much to Iommi's initial dismay. As for effects, Iommi mentioned using a chorus, delay, and wah on the album, with a historical preference for the Tychobrahe Parapedal for the wah sound. The impact of Heaven and Hell. Heaven and Hell remains a shining example of Black Sabbath's musical prowess, even without the classic lineup. It provided a unique platform for Tony Iommi to showcase his guitar wizardry alongside the distinct vocal style of Ronnie James Dio, adding depth and variety to the Black Sabbath sound. So, what do you think? Do you agree that Heaven and Hell is an exception to the post-Ozzy Sabbath records? And what's your take on Iommi's gear choices? Let's discuss in the comments.